we need to accept?
No, that's on me.
Okay. Treasurer's report, David?
No change.
Okay.
Nothing to report at this point.
Correspondence?
Sorry, the only correspondence you guys had gotten and received, regarding. We already had a meeting about the letter, and then I sent some information to you guys regarding that, so. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, okay. We have quorum for East Side now. Okay.
Okay, I'm still here.
It's up to you. It's your
Is
power.
anyone else coming?
Yeah, we can go ahead.
And I know Errol cannot, so,
So it's just Aaron.
yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we go into executive session?
Okay, so before I press pause, just to tell her, but we can.
Bye. See you
Yeah.
We'll
Thursday.
just say they left at 3:54.
Thank you.
East End.
Yes, Tuesday, we have a meeting now.
Yeah, you can stay on if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, the main thing though, before you go is the HACD conference is June 26th through the 27th, flying in on the evening of the 24th. So basically it's in West Kauai. We don't have all the details yet. They haven't given us the registration. I do know that those are the dates. I know that the hotel was Ala Moana, and I know that the meeting is not at Ala Moana. That's all I know. So, and she's working on it. But basically, the June 25th to the 27th, but 24th would be flying in. So the question is, because once they give us the stuff or packet, we're gonna wanna basically immediately schedule things. So one, right now, we just need a minimum of support of how many directors you guys wanna send to the meeting. And then after that, I can call everybody to, you guys can decide who goes. After that, unless there's two people that are just like, yes, me. All 5 of you are here, so that's perfect. You guys can discuss who wants to go. We should have at least one director that will attend. And actually, associate director is possible too, so Tiffany's not here, but we could open it to her as well. She just can't vote, so you need to have at least one director. And if she's an associate director to attend, she can be the second.
And what about you and Brian?
East Kauai has already supported us to go. Brian's paid through HACD.
So they're gonna pay for you and we don't have to, or we?
I think mine usually is covered through my wage, but, Kimmy maybe might be a half and half. So it would be good to maybe say you support that and kind of figure out how much.
They don't have a location yet or anything?
I just know Ala Moana, but she does have a meeting, I just don't remember where it's at. I know it's somewhere near the, university. I believe, I could be totally wrong, and it's like somewhere. But I know, I would expect us by mid next month to know, to have that registration packet. And we'll wanna jump on buying tickets pretty much right away. So, at least the plane tickets from the
Oh,
hotel.
we got some time to think about it.
For a person, if you have a few weeks to think about if you want to personally attend, but.
Yeah.
Today would be good for you guys to vote on how many people you'd like to send, or could potentially send.
So at least two.
And you just vote upon that.
Yeah, your motion to send two, directors to, HACD Annual Conference.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
That was the main thing for you, so now it's really one of you, I guess.
What's that?
You said you had to be done by 4,
Yeah.
that's why, yeah.
So we can decide on who goes.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll call you guys or send you an email, and then, if more than 2 people ask, then can duke it out.
Need the directors there on the 27th, right? Isn't that?
The last day you need at least 1 director, yes, on the 27th.
Pretty sure. Make it that day.
I will not
Sorry.
be here, so don't include me.
So at least
I,
Umi,
I
Adam,
will,
and-
I will not be here.
Yes,
So it's-
we got that.
It's
David,
between you guys.
thanks. Thanks, David.
Yeah, I have a hunch, but I can't.
So, obviously, if only one ends up going, only one ends up going, that's fine. But, the only thing is, we used to be able to designate an associate director to vote if she decides she wants to go. But they've said that that's not allowed, it has to be a director, so. But,
Okay.
so I'll call you guys when we get the registration. packet. Huh?
You take over the rest of it, you guys?
Not really, no. But we can rush through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll rush.
Lock everything up, so.
We'll lock everything up. Be out of here before 5, since that's when they're cleaning, right?
Better be out of here.
Yeah, I know, we will.
Are we good?
So who's taking over?
Thank you.
Ed or Uni or
Bye, guys.
Adam?
We can take over.
Hey, Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, later.
We have to go back to our reports.
Are we being recorded?
Yeah,
Well, then, conservation specialist report, and Brian?
all right. Several Ferris Point meetings, I'm not gonna spell each one of them out, but NACD, PIA and Guam had a lot going on. So that's been a lot of our focus, is just getting that done. We had, NRCS one PA or NRCS PAA has been having meetings. They've had 3 thus far. They're trying to be transparent about what's going on. So he's been very actively making sure we have meetings to discuss. PIA also had a partner update meeting, which I believe Howard attended that one. That was basically, you guys saw the letter. One of the results of that meeting was basically telling us about how there's no funding for IRA or climate smart projects right now going through. But any other projects will be, and that they're also requiring, anybody who has an NRCS laptop to be working from the office. And then we had a spring Hawaii Conservation District employees meeting. So that was, great to see everybody, a few new faces. Spent some time. We mainly focused on the shutdown, potential shutdown, but we talked about a couple other things. And then, I've been talking to AJCD about Puanana on Oahu about bringing in a speaker and also doing an employee training. So we're working on that. I think that'll be really cool. He'll be talking, he's from New Jersey, but he's a very enthusiastic and I think motivating speaker. So I think it'll be from NCDEA actually.
What is that? What is that? NCDA?
That's the one I'm on the board for. That's the National Conservation District Employees Association.
And that's different from NACD?
Yep. NACD is a partner of NCDA. I am happy, actually, one day when you guys want, there's a chart. I can show you the chart of the partners and such forth. I'm more than happy to one day I'm happy to do that anytime, so. Yeah, there's a chart, I promise. Basically, it boils down to 5 main partners, but anyways. Planning wise, I had 14, planning on follow up with 14 clients, 6 site visits. 1 site visit separate from those 6 for the feral swine grant. Working on 5 checkouts and have completed 3 practice checkouts that results in payments. And working on completing 6 plans. I'm trying to get those plans done by the 18th, and in terms of my NRCS workload, I've basically been trying to work it down. Outreach wise, the district employees had a meeting to discuss outreach a little bit. We discussed for trying to aim for a meeting for the teachers for the CAP contest in May to see if we can get some interest, at least on the teachers' end. So Kimmy's working on a teacher and principal contact list, and then we'll work on putting together a hands-on training / event for teachers. I think it was like the first week of May, before school ends,
No, I think we did last week of, was it May Day?
Oh, that's right, it was April.
Yeah, last week, April. I think we did that.
Okay, we're trying to avoid May Day. Or was it the second week of May? Either way.
Yeah.
Poster contest, home is where the habitat is. We're still working on, again, teacher principal list, but we don't need to send letters for that out until August. But we are trying to come up with a game plan locally to get that back up and running, because it was a big outreach event for us. Coming up, still working on the planner 3 certification, doing the usual grant reports. We have the district manager meeting and the NACD grant meeting. And I'm still wrapping up NRCS stuff and also doing the district how-to documents, so lots of stuff.
To save on time and not be redundant, I was a part of most of the trainings or, excuse me, meetings that Jenny talked about. But I was also part of some trainings, including highly erodible lands training and some wildlife assessment guide trainings. Outreach wise, I attended the most recent Farm Bureau event up at the Seatar Station. It was focused in on new pests to the island, including rhinoceros beetle and little fire ants. Contract wise, had a lot of feral swine visits this past month, feral swine fencing clients, 7 site visits with 2 scheduled actually on Friday. So that's a total of, it will be 11 site visits already completed. Farm bill wise, working on 5 different clients. The most recent one is just ranked. We'll see what happens with that. The experienced partners have been taking me out to get job approval. So the more I am part of different practices, the more I don't need somebody to sign off on something. So
Explain job approval, that was part of our NRCS agreement.
Yeah, the job approval authority is when you have basically the know-how to plan and or there's 2 parts, there's a planning portion and a certification portion. So, but you prove that you can plan or certify to a certain level and sign off on it so that they don't need to have somebody else who has that know-how sign off on yours.
So the
There's
more,
5 steps.
the more I attend, even if it's not my client,
Yeah.
the more job I'm getting. So
Yeah,
most recently I've been on checkouts with different partners, but mainly Jenny, brush management, wind breaks, mulching practices. And today we actually were on a high tunnel checkout. So I'm getting more and more knowledge and experience, which is top notch for the district, because I won't have to have somebody always signing off stuff for me. So
check out if somebody had just finished putting up a high
Yeah.
level.
they've certified
Or they're-
and we're working on certifying.
yeah, we call it checkout when a contract item number is complete. So anytime something was contracted, it's a checkout.
Yeah. And then,
Well,
and then get paid.
or planned, it can be planned. You just haven't experienced that yet.
Okay.
Is that when they
CCA
get
counts.
paid? Is that when
Yes,
they get
certificate,
paid?
well, if there are no corrections, like today, there's a correction that needed to be made that they have to make first, and then, once that's fixed, then yeah, the payment happens from there.
Yeah,
Do you have to have another inspection?
But, depends on the practice, this one, yes, but sometimes we just say, take a solid picture of what you just fixed and
good to go.
you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, did that make sense, by the way, job approval authority? Yeah, so right now, I think, yeah. I have a lot, by the way, which has been great.
I guess the other thing going on right now is a lot of our 2025 contracts have been selected to be quality assured. So somebody else in programs or above us is gonna be picking apart, fine tooth comb our contracts to make sure everything is where it needs to be and how it's supposed to be. So that takes a little bit longer to make sure everything's correct. So I already know one of my contract is QAR, so I'm making sure I'm got that all squared away. That's what's been taking up a big chunk of my time, other than feral swine stuff. That was longer than I want to talk, but
So, you did a contract and then they picked it apart?
so. The process is. Whoever is assigned the client, sets up a contract.
Let's say you,
Okay, so I'm the client. Or,
You're gonna.
um. We first agree to different types of practices, the client and I, before we do anything else, make sure we're all on the same page,
So planning,
planning, right? And then from there, we ask, it has to be. How I built the plan is ranked against others. And depending on the ranking, then gives me a better chance of having that contracted funded. How do you do better in ranking? Well, there's different ways of doing it, but having some prior knowledge and scheduling the right practices gets a better ranking. So once I discuss with the clients their needs going forward, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, we get a immediate plan going near future, but also take in mind the long-term future. So the first contract typically with a new client, at least the way I'm handling it is let's get our feet wet. Let's see if it gets approved. Because all the paperwork they have to go through, I mean, there's a lot going on. So if we know they can get through that first contract, we can usually then do others. So I'm getting beyond where I need to. So right now I'm at the point where one of my 2025 contracts was accepted, selected. There's these terms that
selected
By NRCS.
by NSCS through the ranking process.
through the ranking process.
And who does that here? Jenna?
No, we all do the ranking, the selections happen on a state level. The programs team makes the selection.
Right, so when we're putting together this contract. You're gonna get scores anywhere from 0 to 140.
It can go higher, it depends on the ranking.
So if the client, if we're not scheduling practices that make sense to fix a resource concern on a property, it's not gonna rank well. But if you have a vegetative barrier there to help with rill and sheet erosion, it's gonna then rank better. So because I'm green or fresh, and maybe because of other things, this contract was chosen even before the client has agreed to anything. We know that it's
No,
gonna-
they've agreed to the practices,
right,
they
but-
just haven't signed the contract.
right. So it's not being picked apart, it's just making sure we're doing what it's being
He
picked
did
apart.
his job right.
Right, they're making. And there may be more of those, but it's because I'm green.
Oh, no, they've actually, every planner has to have at least one plan that's picked apart. So I actually have two, but that was because you made a mistake and selected a second one. But that's,
The DC had thought that maybe,
yeah,
right,
but it's a quality insurance.
right, and but there, we might see more general than mine because
Yeah.
we're newer. But right now, only the first one's been chosen. I do have other contracts that have been selected
For funding, yes.
for funding. That have not yet been QAR.
But then you selected for funding, so that's all depending, as long as it's not IRA.
Well, no, IRA projects were selected for funding, we're just not telling them they were selected for funding yet, because they may not get that funding.
Yeah, that's what, like, that funding is not.
Right, the funding has not been approved, so they've been selected, so if they say, yep, we're going with IRA funds, then these projects will get funded. If not, we didn't tell them they got selected. So,
And the one client I do have that was selected using IRA funds was for a CSP project, where at the same time, I also did an equip project. So what's nice is if the IRA doesn't come through, at least
they got something.
they got something, yeah. I still really feel, freshman, maybe sophomore, but I still feel great, but I've learned a lot here in about 13, 14 months. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things to understand, let alone who I work for, so.
We're working on some of them.
Yeah, but this contracting season I'm going through right now really is putting together the past 14 months, you know? Cause when I came in, when I was hired in February last year, we were kind of in the middle of stuff. And I really didn't put together the whole process. So. It has, both Jenny and Jenna had mentioned when I was hired, it's gonna take you at least a year to. And yeah, it's a true statement. True statement. So I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah. If not, I talked about it.
Any other questions for Brian and Jenny? Okay. Annual picnic,
We can punt this to the next meeting. Just know that we need to make a decision on a date for either August or September.
East Head of
district operation discussion,
So just a quick summary, we talked, last time we talked more about the letter and kind of what we wanna do a little bit moving forward. And I sent you all an email kind of following up because I talked to Caleb, who's the NACD rep for Pacific Region. He gave me some enlightening thoughts for how to approach working with NRCS moving forward. And then also, that was also where I asked about how we can maybe approach it, especially with the challenges happening right now on the federal level, getting funding for a strategic plan. And so through that, we kind of discussed options, one of which is through the NACD grant, which we can talk about a bit later, but yeah, so that was just kind of part of that. But one of the things that I recommended is that we actually develop at least a working plan for now. That'll help Umi and Craig in terms of employee workload, but also help all of us kind of focus our energies where it needs to be, rather than just scattered. What are we actually doing, you know? So I requested that we either have a special meeting or a subcommittee meeting. East Kauai recommended because we're dealing with the district manager discussion, the NACD grant, or technical assistant grant discussion, a couple other things, and we also have our deadlines right for middle of April, so we're talking about having this meeting towards the end of April. Get us passed through some of these things, and then having a kind of a working plan meeting with, they actually asked for the whole board.
for the end of April,
Yeah,
yeah, gives us a little bit of time to get
some of the other stuff
some
that
information in place and people.
you and Craig will be able to suss out some stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, if you guys are in support of that, then we would basically discuss dates for at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, in reading our agreement with NRCS that we have right now, our unfunded agreement, it just says we agree to work with each other to come up with a work plan, so.
Yeah, Caleb said it, he's like, we are in the right space, so what we need to help with is basically determine how much work we do
Yeah.
for NRCS. And what we need to have done for districts. And then we can come back to the table, and yes, you need to get input from Jenna, but you guys, I think, really, we need to have that conversation with.
No, it's us, Brian, it's us, the problem right now, and that's what we're addressing now, and because we didn't put together a workload. NRCS is obviously gonna just put you to work, right?
Yeah.
In the time I've been here, they've also taken advantage of the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So thank you for accepting some responsibility here, but they haven't spoken up and said, look what you're doing to your district, right? Yeah.
No, and this is on a statewide level challenge,
Right. And,
statewide, it's an issue.
Yeah.
and unfortunately for me, coming from my previous background, I don't take kindly to being, you know.
Yeah, and so we're gonna beat down.
I don't mind the beat down, it's just wanting to, you know,
Erosion.
yeah, I mean. So,
Yeah, I get it, it's like. We didn't step up and they lost so much people that they're just hoping to riot
Yeah,
everybody they can, so.
and I, you know, some days I don't do a good job of, we'll see that. You got a question or you leaving?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you keeping track of your hours that you work per, I mean, you know, comprehensive, you have a log that we can refer to?
I've been less successful at that, but I know I've been asking Brian and Kimmy both.
Yeah, I have been, but it's, you know, it's not exact, but it will show you the breakdown.
It will show the breakdown enough that we can argue the point for you.
Yes, For
Okay,
sure.
great.
yeah, especially with the the Faro swine contract going on, because we need to kind
That's
of,
district.
that's
It has to
district,
happen.
so.
It's gotta happen.
You know, that work here in the last month is kind of evening out the NRCS stuff, but the previous months were all NRCS.
Well, the other problem though is we still have more and more stuff from NRCS and it's not gonna get better.
I was just getting more contracts today. NRCS got, you know, and
Wait, when you say you're getting more contracts, were these ones that you initiated or are they
No.
coming from
Like
there?
from Devin,
so from
Devin,
Devin
Jenna.
and her and Jenna, because Jenna shouldn't have many. She really,
I'm changing.
she's changing, yeah. So, and Devin's going to American Samoa. So that leaves me and Jonathan.
yeah,
Right, who are the
Yeah.
greenest planners.
So there's a client who has 2 properties, you know, and big plans, hundreds of acres. Oh, here you go, Brian.
I had them before, actually.
No,
But that poor guy gets shifted around, but it
I
is, yeah.
I like the clients, there's no problem.
What's happened to him though, it has happened on a regular basis. There was a point where there was 20 clients that nobody knew who they were, and they weren't my clients, but I carried them along. I made sure their projects happened. That was me, district employee for
Yeah.
2 years, had to do that. So that happens on a regular basis.
So,
And some-
so why is that happening?
Because they don't have the people.
because
Well, then why are they taking work?
They corporate America works, because the government does the same thing. You have to show proof that you have the work, and you have to show proof for a couple of years that you have the work before they'll allocate money to it.
Right.
So we've been told, our office, that we have too many people for the workload that we have. And that's why things like we don't get an engineer.
I can't tell you,
So dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
coming from another world, it's this, we need more resources. Like, not only humans, but others as well.
An office.
If we wanna have that, that long-term connection with our farmers on this island, it.
We've got some things to fix.
Yes,
Yeah, and so
But
that's,
anyways, yeah,
so we're working on it.
there'll be a lot of meetings over the coming.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys,
yeah.
I appreciate you, by the way, district board, because I know it's gonna get, for the next few months, I think a lot is gonna have to happen, so I do
Yeah.
appreciate already ahead of time that help and commitment. Yeah,
Especially with the work plan, you're gonna need a lot of input. From the directors.
Yeah.
Okay. Cooperator agreements, contribution agreements,
not this month.
and send committee reports, Garden Island. We're not really operating right now,
Okay,
haven't had a meeting in over a year.
and Paul didn't have updates yesterday.
Unfinished business,
Kimmy has the paperwork to sign. You took it with her.
oh,
I have your paperwork to sign.
kid. Annual report, Steve,
Kimmy's gonna work on setting up another meeting. Basically, I think our goal is just to have a simple report. One of the things that did get brought up yesterday was making sure that we have a picture. So if possible, either in April or May, if we can actually, May is usually when we do a combined meeting. If we can actually have a full combined meeting that's not online and have and as many directors as possible available for that meeting, and we could even have it on, you know, can maybe aim for NTVG for that combined meeting, which I think it's your guys' turn anyways.
all for the combined.
Yeah, to see if we can get as many people possible for a picture. But we're also gonna be asking directors to maybe write a paragraph about yourself. Introduce yourself. It's been a couple years since we did a report, so that's something we'll definitely
Hey.
ask.
chat GPT.
Yeah, someone said that yesterday too. Who said that yesterday?
Scared of text.
Someone
You
said
got
that.
a nice annual report for us, so.
Yeah. Well, Kimmy's gonna work on putting it together, but I think if we just get a few basic articles for this year, and then next year she can really work on a nice fancy one that we had in 2019. So right now, we have to have it done by the annual meeting, HACD annual meeting, so if we get professionally printed, even for small papers, we still need to have a leeway of time for them to do it, so.
Employee management director.
So that's
That's us.
me.
We have a meeting. We're gonna meet on Thursday, if it starts then.
Yeah.
Other business, office fees, we did. Is that for us or for NRCS?
She already did that,
Yeah.
yeah, unless we decide to do our own office at some point, which we might,
You get a free office.
that'd be awesome. I think if we can figure out even a temporary office for district employees right now would be amazing. The problem is NRCS, we'd have to have an agreement with NRCS to allow us to work with their
With
computers.
their computer.
Or we're only allowed, or we would only be in there for when we do district work.
Yeah.
So that's the only problem. But I feel like our office could, we have that leverage because we don't have an office.
I thought we voted on getting computers and then you were gonna get their programs.
We got one of the programs and we did get that permission. And yes, I have a computer for both of us identified and was planning on getting that purchased this week.
The problem is some of the federal software is only on their computers.
Yeah, there's only one that we can access
So
outside.
you're gonna have to use their computers.
We have to for their planning.
NRCS planning.
And actually, yeah, because you cannot take any federal, anything off of federal computers. That's,
Like,
well, that's law. I'm not gonna go.
So you're doing an NRCS plan on their computer.
Yeah.
But
In their office,
in their office, but
their software,
you're doing their work though.
for sure.
part of our agreement. I mean, it's worked for our community though.
Yeah.
I mean, back to again, there was a year where I brought in $1.2 million by myself just for the Kauai. So even though it was NRCS's contract, it still benefited our community. So we have to also remember that balance. We can't just be like them versus us, but we do need to kind of come up with our strategic plan.
Yeah.
So,
So we can beat them back as individuals.
yes. And we can request funding from them when they do ask us
And then
for their
when you do it,
assistance.
yeah, cause we don't need another reading from them. That was like $250 or something.
300,000.
The last one, so we.
Oh, was it 250?
It was really something
Oh, okay.
from them, but. That's a lot of money.
It is.
Review and update contact list,
Again, Kimmy has that, unless she left it here. No.
what do you mean for us, contact?
We're just double checking the contact list. We do it once a year. Make sure everything's good.
Grants and funding,
Oh, shit.
You okay?
Low battery.
uh,
Okay,
I'm
we're
gonna
almost
have
out. I'll
to
go
sign
quick.
off.
Okay, I'll go quick, or if you disappear, thanks.
Plug it in, David.
Susan,
No
you
more, no more plugging.
Gotta get one of those, portable ones. Okay, so NACD Urban and Community Grant is on hold. NACD, feral swine and fencing. I have a subcommittee. We need to do a subcommittee. I think I have it set for, well, I have
Yeah, I
requests.
gotta get a
to set the
solar
meeting.
charger.
Set for, end of April. Basically, Brian and I will be finishing site visits, hopefully by the end of April, and, before we have the meeting with both boards, the subcommittee needs to come up with selection criteria, so we're not spending time looking at every single project unless that's what you guys decide to do. We had 33 applicants, so, 34, one was found today.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good amount, but we're probably only gonna get, 10, if we're lucky, 15. The other thing about the NACD grant that I wanna make sure you guys know is that, NACD is right now seeking out to help us with funding for somebody to help the whole state. Because there's 3 grantees in the state for the final review process for these federal swine grants. Yeah, and, Errol said that Kauai can go ahead and take the funding to funnel it through to the person. And we also have somebody in mind already that can do it, who's a, huh? No, she's actually an ex-NRCS planner. She left NRCS very recently, but is a brilliant person, and I think she'll do an amazing job for us. And we also wrote into that proposal that they can help with certification as well, potentially. So we're trying to keep it as somebody who can help us outside of just the final agreement. Or getting the final thing. So that's happening, but we still don't know for sure if that funding is gonna take place. So, but we're working on that. The NRCS grant kind of is tied to the technical assistance grant. We're gonna focus on NACD technical assistance grant because that may be advertised in the next couple months. I've gotten rumor that that would be done, but they said that we should we should kind of almost talk about it, the grant as with the NRCS agreement as well. Because what we should do is approach NRCS first about the agreement, and they're gonna tell us no funding right now. But we can then take that request for that agreement to the NACD Technical Assistance Grant, because NRCS still signs off on that technical assistance grant. So they still have to see it, so we need to have them involved in that conversation anyways. So we have a meeting next week, I think. Was it? Yeah, next week, I think, to talk about that grant. Yeah, it's on your calendar. You said yes.
That is, and we would probably.
April 1st.
That one we were gonna talk about. Yeah, I think the meeting's in April 1st, yeah, and the focus would be talking about strategic plan and funding for planners. So similar to what an agreement with NRCS would be, only those, it would be a kind of like a stopgap almost, because they usually, I think, only are like 1 year.
But then that grant was renewable though, and it gave the extra 26 we did renew. So, then. Yeah.
County and Kauai, we're submitting the paperwork for the 2025 now, hopefully tomorrow. And Department of Water, we submitted a request and he's gonna give us 10,000. So that's awesome. So that's the grant.
Yeah, conservation specialist,
I'm just leaving that as a placeholder. We don't know what's going on.
yeah,
So, but I'm still developing finishing developing the job description.
district manager,
And that's, first meeting is next week.
and then we are into the executive session. Any other, any announcements or anything? Sheldon, who, different?
Well, as I said, the agreement grant, if, not everybody said that had, put their name on for the grant agreement, but I am gonna send it to everybody. So if you can attend, that's great, because I think it's gonna be a big, because again, it's conversation about 2 kinds of grants and could be a big source of funding for the districts. And then the district manager one is just the subcommittee is next week, so.
Okay, that's it, we are adjourned.
Thanks for holding on longer, guys. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank-
Bye, Richard. Bye,
All right,
David.
good-
David,
good
we have a check
information,
for you,
thank you.
but it went back with Tammy. So. you may not remember that.
You see her
Okay.
right there?
She does.
She does?
She does.
All right, now we see the pay ratings.
Yeah.
Final car.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Richard.
Give me time.
And just uploading to the,
It wasn't recording.
oh man,
That's okay.
but yeah, that's my report, just a lot of NRCS workload.
Okay. Any questions for Kenny?
Oh, also received some swag gear from NRCS, like fly swatters and keychains and stuff like that.
That for distribution or something?
Well, I mean, if you want a sticker or a fly swatter, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So. In
No
order to,
questions.
sorry,
I said, I have no question. Thank you, Kimmy.
Thank you.
so as. Obviously Jenna will have to, or they rode together, so she's gonna need to ride back. You never heard from Emily, did you? And I didn't hear from Eric. And I'm not sure if they were gonna call in later. I know Aaron couldn't. So at this point is when you can switch to executive session, so she can